This React code looks completely normal at first glance, but this function right here runs on every render instead of when clicking the button. And the scary part, a lot of beginners write React code like this without realizing what's wrong. So in this video, I'm going to show you 5 React mistakes beginners commonly make and how to fix them. The most common mistake everyone makes in React is mutating the state directly. Look at this example. You can see that the score array is directly being modified. This will not cause React to re-render. The way React works is that when you modify a state variable, React will look, is it the same reference as the previous object? In our case, we are directly modifying score. We are keeping the same reference, and since the reference didn't change, React will not trigger a re-render. That is why you should always make a new copy of the element, modify the new copy, and then use the set function and assign to it the new copy. Like this, React will compare the old reference with the new one, and since they are different, then React will trigger a re-render. The second mistake is using the array indexes as keys. Let's take a look at this example. Each item in a list needs a key because React uses keys to understand which element changed, were added, or were removed. When you use the index as the key, React assumes that the position of the element defines its identity. So imagine you delete the first item in the list. The indexes only shifts, but React still sees the key 0 and assumes it's the same element. So instead of deleting the correct item, React may reuse the DOM node and cause unexpected behavior. I actually ran into the same problem while building Stack Vault. I used the index as the key, and when I deleted the item, React didn't remove the correct one. Instead, the list shifted and the UI behaved incorrectly. The fix is simple. Instead of reusing the index, you have to use a stable and unique identifier from your data. A stable ID allows React to match the correct element with the correct data, which prevents this bug. The third and most common mistake is Use Effect Dependency. Let's see this problem. What we wish to do here is to fetch a new query and put it in the result state variable. Now our goal is to run this block of code every time query changes, but this use effect will only run once at the initial render and will never run again, and it is all because of this dependency array. When you keep a dependency array empty, you are telling React, run this use effect only once and never again. But your goal is to run this use effect each time query changes. So the solution is very simple. Since you want to rerun use effect each time query changes, you just add the query in the dependency array because this tells React, run use effect each time query changes. And that is the correct behavior of doing this. That's my favorite part to do in React. It is lifting the state up. But here's how some do the mistake when using it. You can see that the component not lifting state up renders temperature input. So basically that is the parent component. But the problem is that these two siblings don't share the same state. In order to change the temp state, each must do it by itself. But what if you expect both to change when you type the input? That's why when you want to share state with children, the parent must own the state and has functions to set these states. And if any children wants to change these states, they can receive them as props and receive the function that set these states as props. Like this, you'll have better synchronization across siblings because you lifted the state up to the closest parent. The last mistake is not splitting code into components. This is very important as it helps your code to become more cleaner and modular, but some still make one component do everything. Just like this code in front of you, a dashboard that has a lot of things to do. And this is not readable even if it is 50 lines of code. Instead of making one component do all the work, it is best to divide each one inside its own component. Like, why not put header inside its own component and have the dashboard import that component and uses it? Like this, each block of code has its own component, and this promotes the idea of reusability. What if you wanted to use the same code over and over again? Copy pasting is not an optimal solution. Most problems happen because small patterns like these slowly make your code harder to maintain. If you avoid these early, your React apps will look cleaner, faster, and much easier to scale. And if you found this video helpful, consider subscribing. I post more videos about building better software and avoiding common developer mistakes just like this one.